But the problem is that state intercepted all
That's correct.
stimulus money and then used that money to fill part of their obligation. And so the question is, what is the legal status of that?
That's correct.
And I think we should find this from the state, because otherwise, how do we know? How we paint? What is the color of this money?
But in terms of maintenance of effort, that affects the number that goes on the FTM docket. And that is the responsibility of the budget committee. So rather than simply speaking to the town council, which we certainly should do as well, I would think we would want to send a letter to the budget committee outlining what we think are the correct numbers and asking them to respond, and probably ask them to take a vote on correcting the number. And if they, whichever way they vote, but then we will have an official response. Right, it will be an official response once it's a vote.
Don't you think that this question, the answer to this question is contingent on what state is going to say? Because there will be question, $1 above what? And if this is a pot which is mixed from local appropriation, from stimulus money, and state's own money, the question is going to be all the time.
But the money, regardless of whether you count the ARA money or not, it's still less.
It's less, but how much less? That is depends.
Well, the
on
number
that
gets
question.
greater
Correct.
if you include the ARA money
Yeah.
by another $70,000. So the number would increase. The question, however you look at it, I think another question is, who looks at this? I mean, when you look at the numbers, they're less. It's not black, it's not gray, it's black and white. The numbers are less.
I understand this, but instead of having this discussion twice, let's find out what is the amount of money exactly, what amount of money we are talking about, and then speak about that. We can basically indicate that we are short, either by this amount or this amount, depending how this money is painted in terms of color.
So what is the pleasure of the committee?
I think the most important piece is to find out, maybe Doug can do this from the state, how they use this legally.
How they define local appropriations, that's the
Correct.
question.
Correct.
And once we have that answer, we'll have the number.
If it's local appropriation, the difference is much greater than if it's the total appropriation, no matter how you cut it.
But they bifurcated it for the first time last year, and maybe that's the source of our problem.
Possibly. But it's
They
still.
voted not to bifurcate it, and then they did. That's another part of it anyway. I have all the numbers. I have the vote from the minutes of the town meeting, and then the docket from the year before.
So the direction would be for us to find out what the actual dollar amounts are. Are they
Right.
Right.
are they the number with the ARA money or without the ARA money?
And the state can answer that.
The state would be able to answer
And
that.
then we send a letter
Can
with the,
Can that be in the form of a motion, the letter, just so that we're on record,
Yep.
if you don't mind?
I make a motion that after consulting with RIDE as to whether the ARA money is to be counted as part of the local appropriation or not, we determine what the total local appropriation was for 0809, and how much below that maintenance of effort the appropriation was for 0910. We share that information. Am I going too
No, I
fast?
got it, no, I got it.
We then share that information with the budget committee in a letter and ask them to make sure the docket reflects maintenance of effort from 0809 to 1011. I mean, I'm not sure we can do anything about the fact that they didn't make maintenance of effort in this year, but going forward, I don't want that error
I understand.
compounded.
Complicate ourselves, yeah.
I'll send a draft to you beforehand anyway. Make sure I got it right.
Do we have a second for this
Second,
motion?
second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
So that would negate the letter to the treasurer as far as asking about it, but we could ask him to attend. You want me to ask him to attend the meeting, or? In other words, we're gonna write the letter to the budget committee, is that?
No, but it would hurt to have him
That'd be
there.
the
We had
same.
specific questions that came up during the meeting.
I'll send him a email requesting that he attend, if he's available.
If he's available.
Yeah. Do a short notice.
Well, originally, we were hoping for a meeting, joint meeting was between town
Yes.
council, school committee, and budget committee, but this is town council's meeting, so
They call whoever
they can
comes.
call whomever they wish, so it is not, the budget committee is not part of it.
Could we ask them to
No, it's not
It's-
what-
They
They made the motion
They made the
last night.
motion and voted last night. It's beyond our purview.
do? Could you call me and see whoever
We'll have to recall it down.
will
There's a
have
motion
time
on the
by
meeting.
Monday?
While we're on the subject, I noticed that the meeting on March 29th is going to talk about postponing the financial town meeting.
Yep.
Does
Yes.
anybody have any idea what's in the thinking of the council?
Yes.
Sally was there
Yes,
last
they
night.
said they won't have the numbers because of the excise tax. And also-
That's $1.4 million for the town.
Right, and then we don't have our numbers, and we don't want to go, we want to go with authentic numbers to the town, to ask the people for what we need. And we'd like to push it out. We've got some problems with,
Right, I understand the, basis for the request, because the General Assembly doesn't get their act together till June 30th, or last year it was in July. Unfortunately for us, we have a number of people that have been laid off, and we cannot wait that long to recall folks. In other words, I won't know what my budget is until September, or our budget until September. I need people, we start school in
In the
September.
classroom.
Plus, there are also going to be folks, depending on how everything will break down or break out in the end, folks can request unemployment benefits. And the faster we can call them back, depending how many we do call back, can call back, obviously that'll help us out. So if we had to go 2 or 3 months from a practical standpoint, we couldn't operate. I wouldn't have I don't know how we would operate, because people would still be laid off, and we wouldn't know what our numbers are.
So is beginning of July feasible to you, or this is like the last bell?
I think from the school committee, it's not my view. I mean, my recommendation is the later you can go in June, the better, the closer you can get it to June. I think in the summertime, with people gone on vacations and stuff, from us having the town meeting standpoint, we have trouble sometimes getting 300 or 400 people in place,
Not a problem.
at the regular times. But from our standpoint, it would be difficult for us to function if it was that late.
what, it was September, you mean?
Yeah.
So you thought sooner than.
I think, from our position, the school department's position, late June, early July would be more optimum for us, would allow us to.
Yeah, I think the concern is that the General Assembly will not have acted even by the end of June. Last year, they went
That's true. They
into
went to
July, and that would mean we would once again be facing a financial town meeting without numbers from the state. So we're in a difficult situation either way,
True.
end of June or September.
And in June, in the past, outside of last year, you usually, there was an inkling or, enough data available to kind of feel comfortable.
But not this
I'm not so sure, I just know that September it's really not good for
But
us.
we would have had to have made our budget decisions.
We would have to have made decisions, before then, and then said, cross our fingers at the
But
budget.
it defeats the